The Charlotte Independents have not had one of their better years in recent memory, but they're always something to play for when you throw on the Jacks kit as they welcome Paulo Nagamura and Swope Park Rangers, who have had a more than similar season. Tonight's pregame presented by Grace O'Malley's. Tyler Terrens along with the ex-Sherman Pro, Devin Kerr. Thank you so much for joining us. And Devin, really these two sides who have historically been more than competitive within the USL Championship, particularly Swope Park Rangers, who are going to miss out on the postseason for the first time in franchise history. And Devin, for Charlotte, it's obviously been a really bizarre year with the coaching change in the middle of the campaign.
Mathematically not eliminated, but 13 back with 5 to play. It would be quite a mountain to climb. And, you know, it all goes back to when Jim McGinnis departed on June 12th. When Mike Jeffries took over, what was that going to look like? Would they be able to get back to the basics? Absolutely. Actually had a 7-game unbeaten streak, throw a draw in there as well. But since then, 0-6-3, fallen off the horse a little bit. But you've noticed that the values are much more in place. There's a consistency there, and you're going to see them in the lineup tonight. Something you've seen the past 2 games. They're going to try and replicate it once again. But the problem is they're still looking for a victory. Last one was on June 13th versus St. Louis, and that was part of that stretch you talked about where wins versus Birmingham. They took down the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, even over St. Louis as well, and draws against North Carolina FC and Louisville. They've been right there in matches, but much like other teams that are below the playoff line, that 90 minutes full package performance has escaped them.
Meanwhile, for the Swope Park Rangers, they've had a woeful season, but the past 2 outings have actually been really impressive. Clean sheets in both affairs, and they're getting them against some decent sides.
Only 4 on the season in general, so back-to-back games, nice to see that, especially on the offensive side. They've done well for themselves. This is a team that creates pretty impressive efforts. Top 12 in passing. They're actually top 3 in passing accuracy. Most coaches that you talk to coming off of a game against the Swope Park Rangers will talk about how difficult it is to play against in the sense that they knock the ball all around left and right and you have to chase a lot. The problem is they make young, silly mistakes. There is a bigger picture here for Swope Park Rangers, but they are always looking to push these youngsters to another level. They hope that level can take down the Charlotte Independents tonight.
A win against North Carolina, a draw against Charleston. For Charlotte, they gave up a quick, easy goal against New York Red Bulls too. They're looking for a really quick start against Paulo Nagamura's side. It's Charlotte and the Swope Park Rangers when we come back.
My card.
Misplace your debit card? Turn it off with your app.
Excuse me, my card.
This one's gotta be yours, right?
Yes.
And turn it on when you find it.
These are the hands of Novant Health. The hands saving lives. Taking control when it matters most. These are the hands advancing care. They're skillful, precise, and compassionate.
It's gonna be okay from here.
They're the hands giving you strength. Those same hands delivering specialized care also take the time to hold yours. And they'll be waving goodbye as you walk out of our doors and back to your life. These are the hands of Novant Health, the hands making healthcare remarkable.
Thanks. It's like a smart thing. What's the weather?
Sunny. Perfect chicken eating weather.
How'd you get in here?
It's time for chicken.
What's the traffic like?
Rerouting you to chicken.
Okay.
Hey, Calzo, order pizza.
Ordering chicken.
No, pizza.
Chicken.
Okay, chicken it is.
Chick-fil-A nuggets make dinner delightful.
Now that's smart.
Almost set for kickoff here at the Sportsplex in Matthews between Charlotte and Swope Park Rangers as our refereeing crew walks the 2 sides out to midfield as we should have a very interesting contest on our hands. Swope Park Rangers looking to string together another nice result, and we'll take a look at the starting 11, beginning with the Jacks and Mike Jeffries. Mr. Devin Kerr, what are we looking at?
Interesting that Mike Jeffries continuing the fluidity of what we've seen the past 2 games, and he said he wants to keep continuity in terms of what they're trying to do going forward. They're going to play a 3-back system. You'll see Abdoulaye on the left. Clay Dimmick's going to shift over from the wing-back on the left, go to the right wing-back position. Valentin Sabella gets the start once again. Kevon George moves into the middle next to Boca Negra. This hybrid 3-5-2, 5-4-1, it rotates in and out. They've actually done well for themselves, but they're going to have to take on a Swope Park Rangers team that has some of the more impressive youngsters in all the USL Championship. Wilson Harris was the one who netted that goal in the 1-0 victory over North Carolina FC. But my big favorites, keep an eye on number 85 and 75, Juan Cusain and Felipe Hernandez. They control the tempo for this entire team going back and coming forward. They are beyond impressive in terms of possession, but they can sting you like a bee on the offensive end.
Tonight's starting lineup is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Tonight's match presented by AccuVision. And our head referee for tonight is none other than Daniel Chesky. These two sides met earlier in the season, a 0-0 draw. What will it have on September 21st as we wind down the 2019 campaign? We invite you to turn off the world and turn off the game. Tyler Terrence, along with the former German pro Devin Kerr. So glad to have you with us as Charlotte are looking for their first win since July 13th. It would be 3 unbeaten for Swope Park if they're able to get a result on the road. And if they are to get 3 points, it would be their first win away from Children's Mercy in the 2019 season. Not exactly a statistic that Swope Park Rangers fans would like to hear, but it is the truth. Here's Valentin Sabella. Trying to squeeze his way through. He gets dropped, and immediately Danielle Chesky racing over to the scene, and she's going to issue a very early yellow card. And it's going to be dished out to Jalen Lindsay.
Set a precedent early, 45 seconds into a match. Jalen Lindsay gets turned around a little bit here, and I can see him stick his backside out. Not necessarily sure I've ever seen a yellow card brandished that quickly in a match before.
So Lindsay immediately goes into the book, and he'll have to be careful if he's on the field for 90 minutes for about 89.
Second minute on number 47, Tucker Lepley. Yellow card, Swope Park. Second minute, 47, Lepley.
The public address announcer is claiming that it's Tucker Lepley. We will have firm confirmation in just a second, but it looked like it was Jalen Lindsay and only Jalen Lindsay that the yellow card was flashed in the direction of. But meanwhile, a very good set piece opportunity for the Charlotte Independents inside of the first 2 minutes. That's Sally and Enzo Martinez standing over it. It will be Enzo. It's a great effort, and it's off the crossbar. And it was, in fact, Jalen Lindsay who was issued the yellow card. And Enzo Martinez rocking woodwork inside of the first 120 seconds, and everybody's offside, and Swope Park will be able to collect themselves. But what a fast start it would have been for Charlotte, who has struggled to get off on the right foot, especially against New York Red Bulls 2 in their most recent game. Giving up a goal to Matthias Jorgensen in the first 15 minutes. And Mike Jeffries telling us in our phone call with him just a few days ago that it's always difficult to play at Montclair State University, especially against John Wolinek's side, but even further than that if you're going to give up an early goal. Finished a 2-0 scoreline in favor of New York Red Bulls 2, who are vying for one of the top spots in the Eastern Conference. They're taking on Louisville City FC, which is a rematch of the past few Eastern Conference championships. It could be a prelude to this year's as well, especially the way that things have gone in the past, and Swope Park, with their first possession, squander it. And a goal kick coming for Brandon Miller.
Some quality spurts throughout that match against New York Red Bull 2 back on September 13th that the Independents need to take out of it. So much so that their early goal wasn't happy, as another poor giveaway coming out of the back by Brandon Miller. But they did hang in there until the dying moments of the match. It was just that 1 goal difference. Well done by Herrera.
Cleaning up the pieces of the Swope Park center back, Camden Riley. Charlotte with a lot of energy in the first few minutes or so. Valentin Sabella wanted to go quickly, but now she's going to call for reinforcements to come and take the throw-in.
That story with Red Bull 2 has kind of been what they've experienced in a lot of other matches. Opening 45 minutes against Indy 11. Got the goal off the deflection and looked nice in the first half, 1-1 on it up, but then you just switch off for those certain moments, and that's kind of similar to a lot of the things that you're hearing from coaches around both the Eastern and Western conferences right now, where they're trying to get their boys a bit better situated down the stretch, whether they're in the playoff hunt or not. In terms of the Charlotte Independents being on the latter portion of that argument, this is very much an exhibition to showcase yourself to the manager and the organization as to why you should be included in the plans in the 2020 season. And if you're not, why not with another club? Great opportunity to push yourself out there and showcase your own personal talents. I can promise you this, a lot of the Charlotte Independents would like to stay here. There's a boatload of talent. Things just didn't necessarily go their way early on, and they've been trying to fight their way back ever since.
Well, it can be so difficult to try to string together a consistent season, especially if you're going to change coaches halfway through. The exception to the rule, of course, Louisville City FC, when James O'Connor departed, then the triumvirate took over. We're able to steer the ship at least to clear waters until John Hackworth arrives, and then you know the rest. Louisville City becoming back-to-back champs, triumphing over Phoenix Rising in the final a year ago by a score of 1-0. Luke Spencer with the game winner. And Swope Park, the first time tonight, established true possession. And Mike Jeffries and really every coach around the Eastern Conference well aware of the capabilities of Paulo Nagamura's side when they do have the ball. But mistakes along the back line and maybe not capitalizing on the colossal amounts of possession that they are able to retain throughout the course of the game has really been their downfall this season. This is a franchise that in every year of their existence, they've had 45 or more points. They had 58 in 2017, of course, back-to-back finalists in 2016 and 17. Falling to New York Rebels 2 in the former and Louisville City in the latter. And the offside flag going up on Wilson Harris, who had the game winner against North Carolina FC. I think that was probably one of the more shocking results over the past few weeks or so, especially since we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the 2019 season. To look up and see Dave Sarakin's side dropping all 3 points to a Swope Park Rangers group that has not been impressive this year. Certainly going to hurt North Carolina's chances of moving further and further up the Eastern Conference ladder. While it may all be done and dusted in the Western Conference, the East, every single spot, for the most part, is up for grabs.
The yellow card was actually issued to number 26, Jalen Lindsay, in the 2nd minute. Yellow card, Swope Park Rangers, in the 2nd minute on number 26, Lindsay.
Enzo Martinez with a poor touch, but it'll fall for Jorge Herrera.
Going to be a fun matchup in the middle of the field for Swope Park Rangers. A lot of young talent in Felipe Hernandez and Kazane, as we mentioned. Ayub Alak is in there as well, sitting just below them in the 6th position. But how do you counteract it when you've got some seasoned veterans in the likes of Ricardo Bocanegra, Yvonne George, and of course they'll try and overload it a little bit. You're already starting to see it with Abdoulaye pinching in. Clay McDimmick will do the same. And Enzo Martinez always seems to be the trump factor. Could even be more so tonight, based upon the fact that they've moved him out wide right. But don't be surprised, he will venture all over the pitch, challenging the young ones.
Herrera on the first time and smothered by Pulskamp. Started to earn the clean sheet against North Carolina FC, and the timeless wonder from Bogota, Colombia, getting his first real delivery of the night. Gets a deflection on it. Swope Park were shouting for a handball. See both keepers flirting with danger in the opening few minutes or so with regard to distribution out of the back. And Sally. George was a bit slow to it. Harris will try to bring it down. That's well done on Felipe Hernandez, and Jalen Lindsay will calm things down for the visitors.
This is going to be the comfort zone for Swope Park Rangers, with only the one legitimate striker in Jorge Herrera, designated to occupy all the space in the back line. That back 4 will have An extra bit of luxury, at least initially. They'll still have to make some quick decisions as you see Enzo Martinez starting to drift over. We mentioned that would happen. And if they don't pull the trigger quick enough, this is what will go on for Charlotte Independence. They'll be able to take advantage of the fact they can play a higher line. And then how do you play out of the press? This is exactly what you should do. Just quick movements both on and off the ball. Balls down into the channel and everybody rotating. Then Charlotte Independence start to scramble.
Lindsay, a good ball in, and Hugh Roberts getting a touch to it. Didn't know much about it, but saw the danger and dealt with it. But a corner coming up for Swope Park Rangers. That was a teasing ball in from Lindsay, who was sitting on that mighty early yellow card that he received in the first few seconds of the game.
This is something that the Swope Park Rangers are gonna look to. The problem is you flirt with danger just a little bit. You invite the pressure on the defensive side of the ball and then look to play quick going up the pitch. It's not bad execution whatsoever. Just have to be careful with all the talent in the likes of Herrera and Martinez on the pressing side of the ball.
And that corner never getting past the first defender. A happy deflection for Charlotte. And a goal kick for Brandon Miller. One of the biggest things that Mike Jeffrey has said to us in terms of why it maybe hasn't gone their way in the 2019 campaign is that they haven't been able to press the way that he would like. And it was a combination of personnel, combination of just in terms of trying to get back into the thick of things or at least string some results together once he took over for Jim McGinnis. Was that surprising to you or par for the course given what you've seen from Charlotte this year?
One of the issues you're going to deal with is 14 matches. You've got a totally different philosophy. And to be fair to the players, it wasn't just one philosophy, and that was the issue. They had to deal with so many variables. And once Mike Jeffries comes in, that goes back to some of the camaraderie and regular run of play that we saw out of them, that 7-game unbeaten streak where they went 4-0-3. They had an identity. When you don't have that early on and then you come in, your mind's already going one way. That's real close at where Herrera's off. You're already going one way. Then you're tracking back to another. And even when you go in a positive stretch of play, you're still tracking back to a preseason type mode where even though Mike Jeffries was their manager and had been there for a long period of time, he was no longer the guy. He's now behind the scenes, pulling the strings, but still someone on the field every single day telling them totally different. I mean, if you're Jorge Herrera, if you're George from years past, I mean, even when you go to Brandon Miller and Enzo Martinez, they gave this guy their life. And for him to no longer be involved in terms of the head coaching position, it's really difficult to turn things on and turn things off. Then you just hit a point where, okay, now we've gotten back into it. You started to see the familiar names in the lineup. Not as much rotation. You brought in some new blood, but you relied on the old guys. Fatigue started to set in. And you go on those win streaks. Not everybody is Phoenix Rising. Not everybody is FC Cincinnati or the Real Monarchs. They can't go on 9-10 game unbeaten or win streaks. So that'll catch up with you. But when you do lose, how to react to it. Unfortunately, Charlotte Independence just haven't been able to get out in front of some of these games. And again, it's been a lot of silly mistakes here and there where 75 minutes looking great. Then they fall off. Opening 10 minutes, they look poor, and they play great for the next 80. You and I watched the Indy 11 game a couple weeks ago. Opening 45 minutes, we were astonished. Wow, they are in this at Lucas Oil. They're in this game. 1-1 at halftime.
Playoff hopes were still alive.
Still playoff hopes alive. What happens? 3-1. And 2 goals in the second half that were nothing spectacular. There was a restart on the other one, the deflection coming off the end line. So it's little things like that that have put themselves in this situation. Come 2020, that will 100% change.
Martinez on the Chick-fil-A corner. There was a free header available for Hugh Roberts. Acrobatic clearance, but only as far as Mansally takes a deflection, but right into the hands of Pulskamp. It's a long ball the other way. Charlotte make the mistake of letting it bounce, but Mansally was not challenged, and he's able to get it back to Brandon Miller. Meanwhile, on the other side for Swope Park Rangers, we talked about their successes over their past few years of existence, but losing the likes of Tyler Blackwood, Haji Berry, Dakota Barnathan, Matias Silva, Brian Rebellon, Christian Herrera, all coming from that conference semifinalist team from a year ago that fell to Phoenix Rising Football Club in a shootout. And that game in the first half was one of the better first 45 minutes that we've seen in a playoff game in a long, long time. And that game was 2-2 at halftime. And if it weren't for a deflection goal from Kevin Lambert in the first 10-15 minutes of the second half, that game easily could have gone either way. And Paulo Nagamura is such a young coach, but it seems like the identity and the purpose of the Swope Park Rangers side, especially in the 2019 campaign, has shifted towards maybe the same sort of idea that we see from Los Dos, Tacoma Defiance, in terms of, you know, a lot of opportunities for young guys and, you know, inconsistencies within the lineups, as Felipe Hernandez with some good footwork here to keep it alive. First time effort coming in on the back post. Always going wide, and a goal kick coming up for Brandon Miller.
When you get guys like Felipe Hernandez, Juan Cruzane, 19, 20, 21 moving through the organization, there's going to be growing pains. But you're trying to push the entire team underneath the umbrella of Sporting KC towards the direction of what the Bethlehem Steel are doing and the success that they've had. Continued success. And even in an off year for Brendan Burke's boys, they're still right there. This playoffs are probably going to escape them again. And that's with a massive change over there. I can tell you this, though. That man on the ball right now, he'll be playing for Sporting KC one day. He's that good of a talent. Now, he has to continue to mature. Obviously, the physical attributes have to come his direction. But that's kind of that bigger picture that we talked about where, yes, these games are meaningful. Yes, it's about results. For Swope Park Rangers, there's also much more to it than that. Guys like Wilson Harris up top. I actually picked Wilson Harris and Felipe Hernandez to be two of the guys that could win Player of the Year award for the Young Player of the Year. And though it took Wilson Harris a bit longer, Felipe Hernandez right there. So they have an idea of what they're doing. Again, the results are just going to escape you from time to time.
Great little ball through from Enzo Martinez. Herrera available, edge of the area. Trying to get the shot off, but closed down quickly by Jalen Lindsay. A good defensive play, and Herrera waited much too long. Good touch out of pressure. The shot on frame, parried away and cleared away by Swope Park. A few seconds of brilliance coming in from Charlotte Independence, and Ricardo Bocanegra denied by John Pulskamp, and a corner kick coming up for the Jacks.
By Chick-fil-A and taken by number 19, Martinez.
Beautiful little pirouette here by Bocanegra off the deflection. Second, third chance opportunities are always going to be at the forefront of the Independence mind, especially the way that the tactics are playing out. Trying to play out of the press. Going to be a lot of good opportunities coming back in around the top of the 18. Well done by Bocanegra.
Back in from Bocanegra. Away from Riley. Sabella. He whips one on the first time. It's not a bad idea, asking questions of Swope Park. George nods it down for Herrera. Cuts it back on his right. Trying to go for goal again. Blocked by Riley again. Sabella accused of the handball before the foul was committed. Back in for Enzo Martinez, might be able to get there. And cleared away by Kavai Rad. A flurry here from Charlotte. Applying a lot of pressure on the Swope Park back line. Delivery comes to nothing though, and Swope Park will try to break out on the other end.
Have to find a wide to get Tucker Lipley and Pedro involved a bit more in that front three, coming back to help out this team. A lot of one-offs like you're seeing right now, just a long ball put down in with a glimmer of hope with Brendan Miller. Not exactly sure how he wants to play this out, and I get it, you want to move the line high initially, but there's got to be another direction. Too many one-on-one situations right now. Credit to the Independents for tracking back defensively.
And this handled by Brandon Miller with relative ease. The shot coming in from Zé Pedro, 22-year-old from Portugal. Signed on July 29th, 2 goals and an assist in his first 5 games.
Just a half chance from distance. That's some of the youthful frustration coming out of Swope Park Rangers, where wave after wave of attack from the Charlotte Independents being thrown at them, and you get a little window of opportunity, feel like you have to take it. That's not always the case. Well, in said situation, probably not the worst decision considering all the variables around him.
Sabello finds himself over on the right flank. Enzo Martinez on the turn. It's a difficult ball for Mansally to handle. And Enzo was one of the Mike Jeffries guys who came into the 2019 campaign expecting that Jeffries was going to be the head coach, and Jim McGinnis ends up getting the job. Of course, McGinnis departing in mid-June. Here comes Felipe Hernandez with space in front of him, now being closed down. Cuts it back on his right. He can hit it from distance and then some. Here's Lepley. always pulling it wide, claims that it took a deflection. Palms raised in the air to Danielle Chesky, but she's not having any of it. Lepley, a 17-year-old actually from Charlotte, came up to the Charlotte Soccer Academy before moving over to the Sporting Kansas City Academy.
This is a perfect example of some of the growing pains going on. It's a good run by Lepley, tucking himself inside, but he's waiting for Jalen Lindsay on the right-hand side to come all the way back around. It develops late, and the only option he has is to go to goal himself.
Out of the reach of Sabella. Martinez trying to get a touch to it as this game is starting to open up a little bit. 20 minutes in. Lindsay pushes one along for Lepley. Right side of the Swope Park starting 11. A lot of Charlotte flavor between Tucker Lepley and Jalen Lindsay. Growing up in the area, and both having attended the Charlotte Soccer Academy before moving to Sporting Kansas City. There's always just been such a great presence of youth soccer in this area. Of course, with the lack of a first division team in the area, Scott Gallagher Soccer Academy and of course Sporting Kansas City have seemed to taken up some of the better youngsters over the years. Done nicely by Charlotte. Bocanegra on the turn. In for Enzo Martinez, picks his head up, wants to hit it from distance, and Pulskamp able to make the save. And that's something else Mike Jeffries also told us, is that he would love to see Enzo Martinez just have more opportunities on the ball at goal, not only within the penalty area, but outside.
You take a look at what they've looked like over the past few games, Tampa Bay Rowdies and New York Red Bull 2. They've gone into this three-back system, but the difference has been, what does the midfield and then the attacking options going forward look like? It's much different tonight in terms of the front three. Previously, it was more 5 or 6 overloading in the middle, and Jorge Herrera was always the constant up top. That's not the case tonight. You're seeing a lot of rotation out of Sabella, Jorge Herrera, and Enzo Martinez, quite impressively as well. All of them more than willing to take possession of an outside wing position, but also step into the middle and do the dirty work. That was a good look by Enzo Martinez, where he had actually been on the left, gone back over to the right. And that's where you keep not only the back line of Swope Park Rangers, but the midfield unit, specifically second guessing where they are supposed to be marking their players. That constant rotation causes a lot of confusion, and Charlotte Independence having some success in those areas right now.
Free kick coming up for Swope. Lepley and Zay Pedro on top of it. Two-man wall for the Jacks. It's Zay Pedro. Too close to Brandon Miller. Other Eastern Conference matchups tonight. We already mentioned Louisville City and New York Rebels 2, and Vincent Bezecourt has already got New York Rebels 2 on the board. It's 1-0. That game is at Slugger, the home of the back-to-back champs. Tampa Bay will be playing host to the Bethlehem Steel. Memphis 901 FC will welcome St. Louis FC. St. Louis trying to make it 6 wins in a row after taking down New York Rebels 2, as they have totally shaken off the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup hangover. And they look as sprightly as ever, returning to early season form when St. Louis dominated the top of the table in the Eastern Conference. Enzo Martinez, a poor first touch, but Swope Park had completely backed off, and now they're going to pay for it. Martinez pushes it out wide. Dimick trying to cross it. Martinez didn't challenge for the header at Swope Park and come away unscathed. Looks like a foul called against Charlotte. Not exactly sure where it was, but Chesky trying to restore order. Over-under on the Louisville City New York Rebels 2 game. I'll set it at 3.
On goals?
Yeah. No, that's not fair. I'll set it at 4.
I was going to say, I'll take the over.
Yeah.
An early goal like that kind of sets the tone, doesn't it? Having the back-to-back reigning champs chase. We've discussed this in other matches as well. That's just a team, no matter what is going on in terms of injury, run of form.
There could be 6 inches of snow on the ground. They'll still find a way.
Come the final 3 months, they are so good. And I've given this statistic out, but I'm going to repeat it because they are that good in 47 matches over the past 3 years. So 2016, 17, 18, and 19. Final 3 months, August, September, October, they are 29, 4, and 14. They've only lost 4 matches in 4 years. Think about that.
But it makes sense because they're just littered with experience, and all of those guys just understand that if we can get it done now, as Enzo Martinez trying to get it done now, turns, wants to put it on frame. Postcamp able to make the save, not dealt with completely yet by Swope Park. They take the easy way out and they concede the corner. Enzo Martinez, it appeared, had some options, but always had his heart set on goal and challenges Postcamp.
A lot of the pieces that Lou City has, Charlotte Independence has. They've got their Enzo Martinez, a guy who can score goals for you, but also provide some distribution. Jorge Herrera, run around up top and cause confusion. No matter what, they're always looking to separate the back line, and the culture that's been created here gives you opportunities like you just saw, where it's next man up type deal. They got some good guys in the offseason. Again, it was the early run of form that really pushed them behind the 8 ball, but they can showcase themselves with the best of them.
Crowd urging their side on. They want a goal from this set piece. They might just get it. Postcamp flying off of his line. George is able to hit it. He was getting tugged from behind. Ends up sending it wide. There was a slew of white jerseys blocking the goal frame once Postcamp was away from home.
This first one looked like it was going in. Hugh Roberts on the run right to the 18. On George up against Juan Kuzain. That is literally a man amongst boys. Just pushing him off, willing himself to get a strike off on goal. Just wide of that far post. You can feel the home squad. A lot of momentum in their direction, and they are definitely knocking on the door.
You saw Jack's militia in the background. They thought that George had found the back of the net from their vantage point. George and Bocanegra get their wires crossed. As a result, Felipe Hernandez gains control of the ball. Look at Jorge Herrera like a man possessed, trying to win the ball back. Here comes Sabella on the press, and that was the same exact side of the Sportsplex at Matthews that he scored the infamous equalizing goal here in the U.S. Open Cup when he was playing for the Florida Soccer Soldiers. And Mike Jeffrey says that the youngster is coming along quite nicely. They maybe expected him to have a few more goals than one at this point in the season after signing him away from the Soccer Soldiers, but has been doing some good things in and around the attacking third. Juan Kuzain from distance, and Miller needed to make sure about it. And between Juan Kuzain and Felipe Hernandez, the two of them combined are just such threats from outside of the penalty area, and probably anywhere inside of 40 yards, they're good for it.
For Sabella on the Charlotte Independence, he's just having to do some extra defensive work that he wasn't necessarily used to. A lot of times he was that singularity up top that had the ability to roam free, kind of what you see out of Enzo Martinez, though even more so as he would be pushed even further past that back line. Always looking to be that snake sliding in between those tiny little crevices and sneak one into the back of the net. Well, now he's got to track back and help out defensively. I will say this. We talked about the shape of the Charlotte Independence, how it's changed over the past few matches. This is the least amount of work that he's had to do dropping back. And the reason that's being is that the front three of Lepli and Pedro aren't coming back at all.
Ball into the channel. It's a good one. And Wilson Harris with a bit of a heavy first touch and allows Brandon Miller to be able to collect it. But that ball in certainly unlocked the Charlotte defense for a brief moment. Update from Slugger Field. Oscar Jimenez has equalized 4 minutes later, 1-1. That over's looking mighty fine.
Just still taking the over. My bet's nice.
Here's George. That a Tobago native. Rough result for the Soco Warriors in the opening round of CONCACAF Nations League. 1-1 result at Martinique. As Wilson Harris takes it away, 1v1 here. Demick trying to defend. Harris gets it on his right foot, tries to pull it back, and it's Wilson Harris who just waltzes into Charlotte territory and gets the opening goal for Swope Park, who have been really, really sharp in their past 2 games. This one no different, in search of their first road win of the 2019 campaign, and they're well on their way. Charlotte nails Swope Park 1 in the 29th.
Too much talent by this young man to allow him to get a shot off. One-on-one situation, you've got help on the weak side. McDonough recognized it. He shields him to the right foot, does everything right. And to be honest, there's a bit of luck in this as well as he gets megged on the way back. Brendan Miller has to do better. There's too much space in between he and the ball striker for him not to shift back across his line. He was worried about the near post, I can understand that. But the defensive unit had done everything correct outside of letting a tackle in. I don't mind the fact that he doesn't go to ground. And there is a reason that that man has 7 goals on the year.
Los Angeles native, just 19 years of age. Actually declared to play for the University of Louisville and the Cardinals in 2018, but signed with Swope Park on July 3rd of 2018. Spent some time with the Seattle Sounders Academy before going over to Sporting Kansas City. And Sally looking for Jorge Herrera, who realizes he wasn't going to win it. Well done from Felipe Hernandez as well as Juan Cruzane. Half an hour gone. 1-0 advantage to the visitors. Pressure from Sabella, and Charlotte able to win it back. Was it McDonough late in stepping to Wilson Harris because he didn't have any cover?
No, he's waiting because he doesn't want the initial run to go 100 miles an hour, so he tries to cut the angle and slowly push him away. He's allowing for the back post runner of Charlotte Independence to help him out, and he got that help. So as you start to push him away, you're playing an angles game, and you're just biding your time, letting your defense come back around. They did everything right, and look, if a guy's gonna pull the trigger, you stick your leg out. 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna go through your legs. The issue you have there is really with Brendan Miller, to be honest. He's shielded a little bit by McDonough, but not enough to really cause too much concern. And again, you're 20, 22 yards away. That's plenty of time for him to regather himself and shift back over to the right side. It was just a slow reaction.
Alak, taken away by Bocanegra. Gives it right back. And now here comes Swope Park with a bit of confidence after the opening goal. San Pedro thought he was fouled, looks at Daniel Chesky, but gets no sympathy whatsoever. Update from Slugger, 2-1 to Louisville. Napa Masoso. You pushed, at the very least.
Oh my goodness. That place has got to be rocking right now. And there is no love lost between those two teams. Every single year meeting in the Eastern Conference Final. A prelude possibly, but I'll tell you what, you and I talked about this both off air and our podcast that we host together, Three Honest Lads, that was it 7 out of the final 10 on the road for New York Red Bull 2. For a team that was in a great situation, both home and away, that's still a lot of work to be done down the stretch, outside of teams like New Mexico United, who play 7 of 10 at Isotopes Park.
And to bring it all full circle, Mike Jefferson and Charlotte Independence, they gave Louisville a run for their money right here at Sportsplex and Matthews, and that win for John Hackworth really turned the ship around because they had gone 3 games without a win. I believe it was 3 losses straight for the back-to-back champs, and there were 2 red cards in that game. Paco Craig gets sent off, Enzo Martinez, I believe, got sent off as one of the Martinez brothers. They're always good for getting sent off at some point in time. But
it was Alex.
It was Alex, okay. I had a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
And that win sort of gave them a launching pad to be able to put together this great run of form that they're currently in.
It's part of that stretch where they conceded first 9 games running.
And they didn't have a clean sheet for
yeah,
2.5, 3 months.
To come back and get a victory out of one of them. That was the Nashville win. But yeah, you're right. And funny how a game versus a team that's you don't want to call them lesser than you. I mean that in the most positive way, the Charlotte Independents. I'm saying it in terms of standings.
They're underdogs.
Can really put, the underdog can really push you to another level. And to be honest, that's what you saw from the Charlotte Independents earlier on this season. That 8-game unbeaten streak, 7 under Mike Jeffries. Of course, the draw just before the departure of Jim McGinnis. And you look back at some of the guys that came in and out of the roster, massive amounts of talent. Mark Hill, we're called the Celtic, of course, Andrew Gutman, Michael Maria, Curtis Anderson, the goalkeeper. Some really good pieces that unfortunately just didn't work out.
Good ball the other way. Here's Lepley towards the byline. Lays it off. First time effort. That was always going to be difficult and needed a ton of power, and that's why it ended up on the outskirts of Mecklenburg County.
You get a really good idea of what Nagamura is trying to do with his boys, and it's no different than what you see out of Sporting Kansas City, where they're very technical on the ball and they will try and break you down in the middle. But when as much pressure as you're seeing out of the Charlotte Independents is being applied to those areas, they'll play the long game, knock the long one over the top, whether it's Wilson Harris or Tucker Lepley, little hold-up game, and then allow the trailing runners and the likes of Cousin or Hernandez, even an overlapping run by an outside back to get involved. That's where the goal came from, and some of these long distance opportunities as well.
Sabella now regathers. 10 minutes remaining until halftime. Wilson Harris with the lone goal. Now has goals in back-to-back games for Swope Park Rangers. Had the game winner against North Carolina FC in a 1-0 decision against Dave Sarakin's bunch. That's why it's always fun. Even if you are out of the playoff picture, you can always play spoiler. You can't play spoiler against another team that's out of the playoff picture, but I think all of you at home understand the point. (3-1) to Louisville City. Napa Masoso again. Herrera. Not a bad idea to find Enzo Martinez. It was a tight window and a corner kick coming up for the Jacks once more.
Enzo Martinez trying to play quickly here and not allow Swope Park Rangers to set the defensive shape on the set piece opportunity from the corner. Really like the look you saw out of number 13, Kevon George, earlier. Roberts obviously can fly.
Enzo Martinez on the corner, back post. George into the middle, but nobody was there for Charlotte. Out for Sabella on his weaker right foot. Gets punched away. And a big touch into space. Felipe Hernandez on his horse. Wrong puts the defender. Good ball into space. Jalen Lindsay makes a defender miss, but the ball across was not what it needed to be. A corner kick coming up for Swope Park. It was almost a perfectly executed counterattack. Good movement on and off the ball, but the final product just simply couldn't be.
You wonder as to whether or not Jalen Lindsay should have put this across first time so that the trailing run of the Charlotte Independents defender could not get in the way. How crafty, though. Just watch this ball played in by Hernandez. And Lindsay, that's just a little bit frustrating by Dimmick, puts him on skates. You saw the back post run coming from Swope Park Rangers. Really well done. You can see how good they are in transition.
Brandon Miller 2 fists away. Martinez a half-hearted challenge, but Sabella able to get there. Jalen Lindsay has it covered. And that play from Felipe Hernandez is so clever because he's never making that move to beat the defender. He's making that move so that the run can get forward, and just always knew what he wanted to do with the ball.
And you also pull runners with you as well. You got to go one-on-one in that situation. Left back rotates over, whoever's holding that position off the set piece. But then, of course, then there's the back post run, and then you have the holding midfielder. So physics, there's a reaction to each and every other reaction. And so when you start to push one way, everything else is going to shift back over. That's where he takes himself to the next level, where it's the quick little look up, understanding from an IQ standpoint that if I take this long touch, this is exactly how it's going to play out. Great video prep work and things that they've obviously practiced on the training ground.
But that's the difference between this year's side and sides in the past, because if that's Haji Berry or Carlton Belmar on that ball, that's a goal.
Yeah. You're also talking about guys that are 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
And veterans at this level.
Yes. Yeah, multiple years underneath their belt, and they'll get there. There's no cause for concern in that area. To be fair, you brought it up earlier, outside of this season, whether in the East or the West, if they've made the switch over, they were always involved. I mean, this is a team that was pushing for a championship every season.
But they were doing it in their own style. They weren't dominating the regular season. I mean, they never were finishing higher than 5th in the regular season standings, but because of the style that they try to employ at Sporting Kansas City and of course Swope Park Rangers, high press, possession-based, and wanting to hit you on the counter, it just always is going to work, and it's similar with New York Rebels too. Less possession-oriented, but being stout defensively as well as trying to hit you on the counter, it's always going to give teams problem. I mean, they were a side that upset Sacramento Republic in the first round of the playoffs last year and gave Phoenix Rising a run for their money, who ended up being the Western Conference champions.
It's a more technical, less energetic New York Red Bull too. That's basically what it turns into.
You're a poet.
John Wolinek's in New York going, oh yeah? Watch this.
New York Rebels 2 get one back. Jared Stroud for the penalty spot. 5 goals in the first 37 minutes over at Slugger.
Dinner's on me.
How much did you put down on that? Lindsay. Tampa Bay Rowdies of Bethlehem Steel have gotten underway. That's 0-0 in the 8th minute. Came over in Al Lang, the southern west coast of Florida. With a cheap giveaway, trying to win it back. 5 minutes remaining until halftime. Wilson Harris with the lone goal so far. Charlotte had a couple of decent opportunities. Enzo Martinez hit the crossbar from a free kick on a tight angle in the first 2 minutes or so. A bad idea for the back heel, but doesn't quite come off. Bocanegra tries to clear it away. Only as far as Lindsay, who's gotten a lot of work in the opening 40 minutes. Hernandez thought about hitting it. Fortunate deflection. Here's Lindsay, straight at Baron Miller, who parries it away. Lepley bringing it down. Lindsay has been all over the field for Paulo Nagamura. Ball whipped in. Harris looking for it, and it's Brandon Miller's to claim.
Now if you're Valentin Sabella, you're going to have to drop back a bit more. At least if you're going to be sitting on the left-hand side where Jalen Lindsay and Alexander, left and right respectively for Swope Park Rangers, are starting to push higher and higher. They had the luxury of sitting around half field or even 40 yards from goal, but that's not the case anymore. As this high-powered offense from Swope Park Rangers goes so quickly in transition, they are starting to throw more fuel on the fire, pushing 6 and 7 numbers forward now. Independent struggling to account for all the runners, especially the late ones.
Sabella holding up play. Bocanegra. Pereira checking back to the ball, gets bothered from behind, but it stays with the Jacks. Tico. Early delivery in, Enzo Martinez rising for the header. Not exactly the best option for Charlotte. He wins it, but easy enough for Pulskamp. Nice fixtures in the Western Conference tonight. But the main event, of course, west of the Mississippi, is Fresno and Phoenix. Phoenix looking for win number 21 in a row. Last time they played at Chuck Chancellor, those two sides, it was a 4-0 decision in favor of Fresno, following a month of June in which Phoenix did not concede a goal in 2018. Of course, Nashville and Pittsburgh will square off in about 12 minutes. What do you like in that one? 0-0 draw? Draw?
You're baiting me. Is it at First Tennessee Park?
It is.
No, there'll be a goal there. It'll be a 2-1. Stay with us in the second half. I'll let you know who the winner is. To keep the viewership
You're
engaged.
a walking tease.
Yeah. Well, you asked me last night who the prediction for the Phoenix Fresno came, and I said, yeah, well, hang out with us tomorrow. I'll let you know.
The USL Championships version of Kirk Herbstreit. Sabella. It's not a bad idea over the top. Pereira running out of real estate. Pulskamp was sharp to it. McDonough under pressure. Did well to find George. Space for Charlotte, trying to find that equalizer before the halftime whistle. Herrera running right at the back line, and a good defensive play over on the far side from the Brazilian Alexander. Hussein leading the charge, finding Felipe Hernandez. Those two always linking up in the middle of the field and running the show for Paulo Nagamura. Long switch over for Jalen Lindsey. Cushions it beautifully with a feathery first touch. Alexander. Ball into the box. Challenged by Swope Park. Herrera gets absolutely drilled from behind. He wants some retribution for the transgressions of Swope Park, but Daniel Chesky keeping the card in their pocket for now. Couldn't say the same for Jalen Lindsey in the first 30 seconds, though.
I was just about to jump in and say that I can understand his argument. If you're going to card Lindsey just a minute into the game, why isn't that issued, especially when you've got a counter-attacking option and you've got numbers going forward for the Independents.
Stoppage time brought to you by Jack's House. And we will have just a mere 60 seconds.
And the fourth official has just announced we'll have a minimum of 1 minute of stoppage time.
Hugh Roberts surveying his options, doesn't like what he sees. Boca Negra. And this is where Charlotte have stalled when they've gotten to this point. When they're in clear possession, they establish a rhythm. But then once they get within striking distance of, let's just say, Swope Park defensive third, the ideas start to stall and creativity goes out the window. Wilson Harris with the lone goal, his 7th of the year. Came the 29th minute. And what was a one-man counterattack. Brendan McDonough was hung out to dry. Brandon Miller probably should have done better with it. And Wilson Harris pulls it back across the face of goal after dribbling down the right-hand side for upwards of 45 yards. Park will be happy to head into the dressing room with this result. And if the result is to hold, it will be their first road win in the 2019 campaign. As the first half comes to a close, says Daniel Chesky. Wilson Harris with the game winner at the moment. Devin Curry, your thoughts on the first half?
Charlotte Independence looked impressive early on, but they got to find a way to get the middle more involved in the run of play. And what's happening as Swope Park Rangers bypass the B section of it, they go from A to C. They're opening up the Independents, and they just have to slow the game down a little bit, step on the ball, and make these youngsters chase a little bit side to side instead of going full throttle from length to length of the field.
Well, it has not been good news for Charlotte when they trail at the half, but they're trying to change all that and get back on the winning streak before the end of the 2019 campaign. We'll step aside. Halftime here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, 1-0 to the visitors.
These are the hands of Novant Health. The hands saving lives. Taking control when it matters most. These are the hands advancing care. They're skillful, precise, and compassionate.
It's gonna be okay from here.
They're the hands giving you strength. Those same hands delivering specialized care also take the time to hold yours. And they'll be waving goodbye as you walk out of our doors and back to your life. These are the hands of Novant Health, the hands making healthcare remarkable.
Mi tarjeta.
¿No encuentras tu tarjeta de débito? Desactívala con tu app.
Disculpa, estoy buscando mi tarjeta.
Esta es la tuya, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Y cuando la encuentres, vuélvela a activar.
Thanks. It's like a smart thing. What's the weather?
Sunny. Perfect chicken eating weather.
How'd you get in here?
It's time for chicken.
What's the traffic like?
Rerouting you to chicken.
Okay.
Hey, Calzo, order pizza.
Ordering chicken.
No, pizza.
Chicken.
Okay, chicken it is.
Chick-fil-A nuggets make dinner delightful.
Now that's smart.
Intermission here at Matthews, and it's the Charlotte Independents who have mightily struggled over the dog days of the summer and now into the fall season. Have not experienced a win since July 13th, and if they do not start to figure it out a little bit in the attacking third, they are very well going to continue that poor streak. Swope Park Rangers getting their goal from Wilson Harris, but we'll step aside to check in with some of the best action from the Eastern Conference this past week.
Cross comes in low, and it's an important stop from a sliding Forrest Lasso. Launched in near post. Oh, it skips through everyone. And it's Ropampa-Mensah bearing in. Fantastic save from Van Oekel. And Nashville find the winner. Headed down and turned in. With every fiber in their title-craving souls. And the boys in gold just will not bow out of this title race.
Down the right, good ball from Carl Howard. Head for Chris Manella goes down, and oh, penalty. It took him a while, but he's pointed to the spot. From the spot, foul. Steps up and scores. Sends the keeper the wrong way. Puts it into the left corner. And in stoppage time, foul has given Fury the lead 1-0. Well deserved.
Cicerone to the back post. What a start for St. Louis. Tyler Blackwood. His dream beginning with his new club just keeps getting better. Dakers takes the ball away. Here he goes. Dakers once more. Everybody going down. Penalty. Incredible year for Sam Fink. Gives St. Louis a 2-goal lead. Sam Fink's star continues to rise. A Luligan at heart. 2-0 to St. Louis.
And they still haven't dealt with it. Ward with a second opportunity. Right, centers it and puts it in. And Birmingham Legion on the board. First Indy 11 with a giveaway inside their own penalty area. And Birmingham Legion makes the pay. 1-0 to Legion. Birmingham Legion spring the upset on Indy 11. And an ample, massive 3 points for the home side as they continue their playoff push.
Let's go with the left foot, Jamal Johnson. What a goal! Perfectly placed.
With one touch to settle, and now it's finds the top of the net. Black stays down, and Indy 11 has a 1.
Ball struck towards the 18, headed on, and headed home.
Inside, glancing header, and he caps it off with the goal of the night.
I think they want dangerous play call.
That one served in the back of the net. Fresno out of nowhere.
Milton serves it into the back post. It's off the woodwork and it's in.
That's in the back of the net. Another cross into the corner, and Hubbard does even better. Moberg's gonna take a shot on goal with a cross and a fantastic save.
Good shot for Blackwood. Nice play by Van Oekel
to force him to give the ball up.
Illich saved.
League 1. He's got an opportunity for another. Curls and scores! Oh, Zagor Seguro. Moshobani again. Back heel, Moshobani! He did it again!
Whips it in, finds the back post. Oh, what a finish, Arturo Rodriguez. Through ball though, Demas the other way, Demas saved by Hara. In the middle, still Jaden Nelson, his shot, it's saved again by Giuliano Chache. Wide open. Fitzgerald covering the mark, still Rodriguez, and stopped by Fitzgerald.
Awesome stuff from League One and the championship, and of course another edition of Wednesday Night Soccer right around the corner between Fresno and El Paso. Fox is taking on Phoenix Rising later on tonight, but right here at the Sportsplex at Matthews, Swope Park Rangers with a 1-0 lead thanks to Wilson Harris's goal in the 29th minute. And we'll take a look at some news and notes from around our wonderful league. And Mr. Devin.
Easy 3 points. That's not the case anymore with Stone's boys.
You'd expect the response. You'd expect it, but it's a beautiful, fickle game, so who knows. All right, well, we're moving right along here at halftime, and we will have stats and highlights from the first half when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
My card.
Misplace your debit card? Turn it off with your app.
Excuse me, my card.
This one's gotta be yours, right?
Yes.
And turn it on when you find it.
This is your health system, powered by Exos. Exos programs are shaped by science, driven by data, and dedicated to pioneering human performance at every level.
We train from youth ages through the professional ranks, in addition to the adult general population.
Though the goals of each individual may differ, the philosophy and approach are identical. Mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery. These are the pillars of Exos programs and the foundation on which all athletic improvement is built.
They take you beyond the simplicity of the exercise and connect that to how it impacts your final performance.
Exos got me back in shape. I'm feeling great, sleeping well, eating right, body's back where it needs to be.
Thanks. It's like a smart thing. What's the weather?
Sunny. Perfect chicken eating weather.
How'd you get in here?
It's time for chicken.
What's the traffic like?
Rerouting you to chicken.
Okay.
Hey, Calzo, order pizza.
Ordering chicken.
No, pizza.
Chicken.
Okay, chicken it is.
Chick-fil-A nuggets make dinner delightful.
Now that's smart.
Almost finished with chicken time. I mean, halftime here at the Sportsplex in Matthews. Wilson Harris with the lone goal in the 29th minute, giving Paulo Nagamura's side the advantage here. And Charlotte Independents have not won a game after trailing at halftime in the 2019 campaign. Swope Park Rangers have not won an away game yet this year. Something's got to give, and we'll take a look at how it all went down in the first half. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. And Devin, first 30 seconds, yellow card issued to Jalen Lindsay, and then Enzo Martinez comes mighty close to opening up the scoring.
Fastest yellow card in the history of the USL Championship. Just kidding. It is an interesting one, though. It was a really weird decision by the referee early on. You want to set the tone for this, you better be consistent. We saw some chances go the other direction. But how about Enzo Martinez? You hit a spot here where you can go direct, you can pick out the near post, and not exactly sure how that's going to play out for you. This game really opened up, though, and I like what I saw out of the outside mids in Tucker Lepley and Zay Pedro on the left and right. They were playing really high, and interestingly enough, Valentin Sabella didn't drop back, and I didn't mind it, though, because you allowed your holding midfielders to just step out and occupy that defensive shape so you could counteract what's going on the other side of things. Again, this is the direct play out of Enzo Martinez. You go the long ball, little flick on. His individual skill was quite impressive. Really surprised that this one didn't end up in the back of the net. Robert's initial opportunity, Kevon George just willing his way to it. That would not put itself in the appropriate position. And then how about we go the other direction? 29th minute. This is when the breakthrough would happen. Talk about direct play. There's a terrible mistake in the middle of the field by George, one of your veterans you'd like to lean on. Watch the one-on-one, does good to stand him up. And to be fair, Steven Tico should have continued the run coming over to the right-hand side because they did have help on the backside. Brandon Miller's got to do better here. But watch the individual talent on full display by Wilson Harris. He understands that he is going to have the tiniest of windows. Back of the net, chicken.
Wilson Harris delivering and then some. It was a spicy chicken sandwich that he delivered to Brandon Miller. And we will resume play here once Danielle Chesky feels that she is ready. And she is, and away we go in the second half. A couple of streaks that can be broken for either side, or if they are to draw, then everything will remain the same. Charlotte looking to become, or looking to get rid of the streak that if they haven't scored a goal first, then they emerge as the winners. And for Swope Park Ranger looking for their first win on the road this season. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr, glad to have you with us on this jam-packed Saturday in the USL Championship.
Fans, we had a halftime substitution for your Charlotte.
And we did have one substitution at halftime. Alex Martinez coming off the bench and replacing Hugh Roberts.
Stepping onto the pitch was
So a very offensive move made by Mike Jeffries, and you have to imagine they're going to go back into a four-back given that substitution. No, Mr. Kerr?
You're spot on. They make a go over to the right back position. Everybody will just tailor their actions a little bit. Dunham will slide over. Tico will now still sit alongside of him. The big move here will be on the left side. Dulai Mansali will now rotate into the left back position. Jeffrey's saying that Gambian has all the talent in the world where he can move him side to side, left to right, up and down. You know the drill. But left back can serve them probably in the best position at this point in time in the season.
A flick from Bocanegra. Wow, this is beautiful from Charlotte here. Alex Martinez with one of his first touches of the night. So brothers Martinez will have their run of play here at the Sportsplex in Matthews in the second half. Here is Alex. Linked up with Sabella. Now it's Enzo. He gets caught with it though and gets stopped in his tracks, and Long Kuzain comes away with it. Wilson Harris making the run. He's offside. Bocanegra cushions it down for George. Defensive play from Zé Pedro. George reads the play beautifully. Alex Martinez again, run being made forward by Dimmick. Goes towards the byline, lashes it across, and Enzo Martinez probably should have let that go through. From Swope, but only as far as Brendan McDonough. More giveaway from the Jackson now. Tucker Lepley looking to make the most of it. Long switch on the other end as Zé Pedro lets it skip through. Now wants to take the scenic route. Zé Pedro towards the byline, now back towards the middle, cutting it back again, but Brendan McDonough would not be fooled. And a corner kick coming up for the Swope Park Rangers.
Quality ball movement by Swope Park Rangers, but it gets to a point where you just got to pull the trigger here. Zé Pedro in the exact situation. Tricks are for kids, young man, and you go the direct route here. You've got plenty of numbers to help you out in the middle of the box.
Zé Pedro, the wily veteran of the three attacking players for Swope Park Rangers at the ripe old age of 22. Harris 19, Tucker Lepley 17. As Zé Pedro throws one in, it's actually an excellent ball, and Charlotte will concede another corner, this time on the other side. Lepley has been impressive, making his 5th appearance as a professional, 4th start.
Corner kick. Taken by number 70, Pedro.
Front one off the training ground. A little touch in, could have easily been tucked right back inside, and then you put yourself in a precarious situation if the Independent's only sending one man out there. They've done it again. Just keep an eye on that.
Corner whipped it again, great ball. Header's a little bit off, and McDonough gets whacked from behind. Daniel Chesky is not happy with the challenge.
And 48, Kave Rad. He was the one who actually knocked this back across. Should have gone direct and see if you could put it on frame and go after Brandon Miller.
Bocanegra in for Enzo Martinez. Out wide for Sabella, directing traffic. Now lost it towards the back post. Not his best delivery. And with 5 minutes gone, it remains 1-0 to Swope Park. But Charlotte certainly asking some questions.
Inflatables, live music, multi-football, and more. Help us celebrate our club soccer family and enjoy a pregame match against the club coaches. Our last game of the season will be raising awareness for breast cancer and painting the pitch pink with no Montel.
Charlotte looking for their first win since July 13th. That win was the last positive result in that 7-match unbeaten streak under Mike Jeffries, 8 matches under Jim McGinnis. Nice little flick from Zé Pedro. He's been mighty impressive tonight. Oakland Athletic, the only team mathematically eliminated in the Eastern Conference at the moment from playoff contention. Balls off Herrera, Enzo Martinez. Back for Bocanegra. Tees it up, not a bad effort. Certainly had the interest of John Pulskamp. Always going over the bar though, and a goal kick coming.
It's now time to announce the winner of our Fan Appreciation Night Pepsi prize pack. Congratulations to Ken Ferret. Ken Ferret, congratulations, you're tonight's winner.
Please make 30-year-old veteran from Las Vegas. Was with the New York Cosmos earlier this year.
Tonight's Fan Appreciation
To the Atlas Youth Academy in Mexico. Played for Real Esteli in Nicaragua, as well as some second division Mexican sides. Juan Cusain. Tico. pandemic. Louisville and New York Rebels 2 just resuming play in the second half. 4-2 to the back-to-back champs. Tampa Bay Rowdies with a comfortable 2-0 lead over the Bethlehem Steel over at Al Lang in the 37th minute. A goal from Benjamin Ofemu and a goal from Sebastian Guenzati. Say Pedro, good ball. And Alexander's offside. Paulo Nagamura will whack his finger, but from our vantage point, which is actually the perfect one, it was indeed offside.
You go down there and tell him that.
No problem. I'll be back in a second.
I'm not interested in that battle. I've seen that before. It's a rough one to tangle with.
Incredible playing career that Paulo Nagamura had. A couple of U.S. Open Cups, a couple of MLS Cups with the likes of LA Galaxy and Sporting Kansas City. He didn't overlap with the White Puma, did he?
2012?
15.
No, he was
it was 2012. You're right.
Way back.
It was 2005. He won the double with LA Galaxy, U.S. Open Cup, and MLS Cup.
I just remember him whacking at my ankles at Chivas.
There you go.
It's not fun.
No?
He's a pest in the middle of the field. In a good way.
You go tell him that.
I have told him that. I talked to him earlier this year, and I said, I can still remember going to camp with you. He's like, good old Chivas. Fun little comments about what did or did not happen under the tutelage of Preki.
Lucky a name that plenty of USL Championship fans should remember. Sacramento and St. Louis specifically. Very brief stint at St. Louis, but plenty of success over at Sacramento. Won a championship over with the Quails, did he not?
Only team to ever do it in their expansion year. Of course, now he's a assistant to the Seattle Sounders MLS. Okay, I'm out of this one. He'll find me.
Felipe Hernandez over for St. Pedro. Felipe Hernandez, clever there, pulls it back. Brandon Miller was stuck in the mud. And fortunate that it went wide. He is always one step ahead of the opposition, Felipe Hernandez.
How many players try and hit this far post? Instead, he brings it back across his body. He knows that the midfielder is going to sell out and go to ground. And it takes a bit of gamesmanship as well as the vision itself to understand when you bring this back across, there is going to be the tiniest of opportunity to squeeze it through the legs. And he's getting a boatload of praise, and you're starting to understand why. It's not just his technical ability on the ball, but stretch the game, striking from distance, and of course, just his overall IQ.
8 goals and 3 assists on the season. In his 4th season with Sporting Kansas City and Swope Park Rangers. Signed his Sporting Kansas City contract back on August 30th. Here he is again, weaving his way in and out of traffic. Good ball in for Wilson Harris, and he finishes it off. Beautifully set up by Felipe Hernandez. Harris has his brace. 3 goals in his last 2 matches, and Swope Park Rangers on their way to their first road win of the season.
Nagamura telling his boy, I want to up the tempo even more, that they've just gotten their second go-ahead goal. Here's the vision, perfectly placed. Both international veterans on the backside. Mansali and Tico do not communicate enough. And just look, they don't rotate all the way back over. That's a mistake by the left back. Should have held his ground and allowed his center back to win the one-on-one battle. He came over to try and help him out. Instead, Wilson Harris makes him pay.
Have a substitution again from Mike Jeffries. This time it's going to be Zion Jones coming on and replacing Valentin Sabella. Mike Jeffries obviously not too happy with the production on the offensive side of the ball. Held scoreless through now 57.5. Then even further than that, we're held scoreless for the entirety of the match against New York Rebels 2 in New Jersey in their most recent affair. And ideas, creativity, and more importantly, goals continue to stall. Here comes Swope Park Rangers again. Zay Pedro, a heavy first touch though. Here comes Felipe Hernandez again. Good ball into the middle, but Brandon Miller was well off of his line, reading the cross the entire way. If Felipe Hernandez had realized that and maybe gone for goal, he could have caught Brandon Miller. Zion Jones, who just entered the game, 18-year-old from Clarkston, Georgia. United Academy product, played with the likes of George Bello and Andrew Carlton. 18 appearances for the Schalke U19 side. Mixing it up with the likes of Weston McKinney, although McKinney at just 18 years of age was already making his stamp on the first team.
He's a guy who, in terms of personal development, just lacking over the past 14 months or so. That Atlanta United squad at the U16 level did win the DA championship.
That talent, how could you not?
Keep going forward, and yep, that's off. Competitions for the U17s and U20s at the youth national team level for the United States. Unfortunately, didn't necessarily go as planned once he went across the pond. Charlotte Independent saw something special, and I will give credit to Jim McGinnis in that area where you can question exactly what this was supposed to look like. But he brought in a massive amount of talent and guys that, whether youth or previous experience, have done it at a really high level to some of the biggest names in world football.
Andrew Gutman, Mark Hill, Zion Jones, all really big names who have a lot of potential, but Gutman, of course, moving on to different opportunities. Mark Hill recalled by Celtic.
Remember, even Curtis Anderson won the U17 World Cup with England.
Yep.
Bailed them out in a penalty shootout.
Manchester City Academy product, and you were really high on Mark Hill at the beginning of the season. He was putting in some really good shifts, only ended up making 8 appearances or so.
He got hurt, and then he gets recalled, and there's a reason they brought him back. Super talented. You and I speculating probably 8-10 games into the season, having a little fun with the puzzle board, exactly what this lineup would look. There were some really big names in there. Nicky Jackson was in there, and you know, that's the other thing we haven't talked about is they've picked up quite a bit of injuries down the stretch. Mike Jeffries just struggling to field the squad.
6 subs tonight. Joel Johnson, Jake Arman, and he said Jake Arman was probably the brightest spot of this group this year. And he's made some really good strides because when he came in at the beginning of 2018, there were a couple of games where you thought, does this guy really belong? But slowly but surely started to really settle in with this Jacks group. And meanwhile, Swope Park Rangers looking to add insult to injury with a free kick here, up 2-0 in the 62nd.
Taxi. Say Pedro, go get it, man. that's one on the training ground where you miss your chase. That was just.
I did a lot of that.
That's not a good look whatsoever.
It's Herrera. Here comes Jones. Look at all the pace that he possesses. Puts one across, but easy enough for Riley. Sliding effort from Alexander. So Martinez is looking to go back for Bocanegra. And that's sort of the lack of synergy that we're used to seeing from Charlotte at this point in the season, because if you think back to their 2017 days, I mean, you had guys making runs that nobody would think to play the ball unless it was, you know, Enzo Martinez, June Marquez Davidson, Callum Ross, Lewis Hilton. I mean, all these guys were on the same page, and even though they ended up with a woeful finish to the 2017 regular season, ended up having to go on the road to Rochester Rhinos and Bob Lilly at Capelli, and ended up losing in extra time. Who had the game winner? If you get this, I'd be really impressed, because I don't think we've seen his name in the past 2 years in the league.
I believe the equalizer was Jakob Graf.
He had the go-ahead. Equalizer came from Jaime Sia off a beautiful back heel from Enzo Martinez. Or excuse me, other way around. Enzo had the goal, back heel from Sia.
Stump the Schwab, I don't know the answer to this one.
Stefan de Fregger.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that wasn't.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was. Love to know where he's at. I'm on it. Please hold.
Here's Felipe Hernandez, already with an assist tonight. Going for goal now. Brandon Miller had no idea where that was going. Felipe Hernandez, it also looked, might have gotten hurt on the play. Now here's Zion Jones blowing past the opposition. Plenty of numbers forward for Charlotte. Jones across the middle. Enzo Martinez scuffed it in the end. Uncharacteristic of Enzo, but Zion Jones making every inch of that happen.
This kid can absolutely fly. What about the touch all the way around, and then puts this exactly where he's supposed to. Perfect amount of pace. Whips it around the final defender. Enzo Martinez just can't get enough on it. See Postcamp slotting back into the picture. He wants more of it. Pick it up. Zion, very well done. And he's spot on. 25 minutes to go. A little bit of life from the Independents.
Well, uncharacteristic for Enzo in terms of what we know from him. Back-to-back MVP finalist in 2016 and 17, but on par with what he's put in this season. 3 goals in 20-some-odd appearances. It has not been his year by any stretch of the imagination. Big collision between Wilson Harris and Kevon George now. Any update on our boy Stefan de Fregger?
Looks like that he's actually been without a club since the December of 2017 when the Rochester Rhinos decided to not continue fourth. Of course, that'll change next year.
See their new shield, their new badge?
I like it.
Really nice.
You saw that Twitter account start to kick off. Give me a little tingle.
Oof.
The former man from the Big Green, Wilmington Hammerhead, Bob Lilly, disciple, and then no more. Only 2 goals in the USL Championship level, 2 of which came for the Rochester Rhinos, one of which is the aforementioned. Not a bad way to go out.
Wild deflected goal, that de Fregger game winner in extra time. Jones, he's been in a mood since coming on. George. Dimmick wants an option, forced to go negative. So Martinez gets it right back. Rather Alex flicking it through now. Chop back, Alex Martinez just over the bar. Pulskamp almost got a touch to it, and Alex Martinez with some solid interplay with Bocanegra.
Doing his best Felipe Hernandez impression in or around the 18. Really well done in terms of vision. And how about Bocanegra? Thought maybe he might get a bit too quirky with a cute little back heel. Instead, he's much smarter than that. Just a quick little look over the left shoulder. Martinez got to lean over this ball, buddy. There's a nice bit of spin to it, but if he puts this in the bottom corner, they crawl within 1. Instead, they're still reaching it 2.
5-2 Louisville City. Niall McCabe added to the tally in the 59th. Even as it stands in the Eastern Conference with that win, Louisville still only in 6th place. Of course, would have to go on the road. You'd have a Louisville-Tampa Bay Eastern Conference quarterfinal matchup at Al Lang if the season were to end today. Martinez, good ball in. Shouts for a handball. Herrera lays it off. On-rushing shot, first time from Ansali. A second effort now. And always off frame.
Well, Herrera was trying to find Zion Jones, but there wasn't a passing lane. Hit a pinball, and eventually it makes its way out to Abdoulaye. That 1-1 game between Lou City and Tampa Rowdies earlier this season in St. Petersburg, Florida was a fun one. Tale of two halves, to say the least, where Tampa Rowdies ruled the opening 45 minutes. John McCarthy basically stood on his head in the second half to only allow one in the back of the net. That's how they would finish.
Zé Pedro wants it back on his left. He gets it there, just on the wrong side of the post. Did take a deflection. He just seems to be one of those guys that you know what he's going to do. He's going to bring it back on his left. It's just a matter of if you can stop it.
This right side has had their hands full in the second half with Clay Dimmick shifting to the right back position. A lot more movement by Swope Park Rangers coming over to the left flank, especially with Felipe Hernandez combining with Zé Pedro. This has been a fun little two-man game down in the corner as well. Now the Charlotte Independents are going to send two guys, and they finally get it right here.
The Chick-fil-A corner kick coming up, this time for the visitors. Near post. Riley with the acrobatic effort, but Brandon Miller able to snatch it out of the air. So try to go quickly. We're approaching the final 20 minutes. Wilson Harris with a brace. The second one set up beautifully by Felipe Hernandez. The first one, all Wilson. His 7th and 8th goals of the season. Poor giveaway from Charlotte. Here comes Harris on the other end. Tries to dig it through, takes a couple of deflections. And a handball on Harris. Charlotte trying to go quickly. And the yellow card issued to Alex Martinez for
Yellow card issued against the Independents.
his previous transgressions.
First minute on number 23, Martinez.
And Devin Curry gave a little golf clap to Daniel Chesky, who goes back retroactively and books Alex Martinez.
Always like it when a referee lets the opposition have the momentum going forward. That's what went on for Swope Park Rangers. Don't necessarily think there was a boatload in this. As you see, the dramatics from Zé Pedro. Alex Martinez does get his body in the way, and it's definitively a foul. And she does let it play on, has to come back and card him. It's quality refereeing, and just inside 20 minutes to go. Swope Park Rangers quite comfortable, although we're seeing a little bit of life, especially out of Zion Jones coming off the bench. You mentioned that. A lot of energy from the youngster, and with he and Enzo Martinez seem to be clicking. I'd like to feed that beast a little bit more. See if you can discover something down the stretch here. Again, just one substitute left for Mike Jeffries if need be. They do have the Dominator on the bench if they want that one more offensive spark.
Lepley, good ball for Zé Pedro. Even better one for Felipe Hernandez, who's away. Wilson Harris sitting on a hat trick, but Felipe Hernandez made a mess of it in the end. Harris is gassed a little bit. You see him starting to labor. Now committing the foul, and he should get booked for that. Danielle Chesky has a card in her hand. And ends up giving it Ayub Alak.
In the 73rd minute on number
Go figure on that one. We've got Wilson Harris is actually the person who brought him down in the middle of the field.
73rd minute.
And now we'll have some instant offense coming on, and Dominic Odoro The goal scorer for Charlotte this year.
Independent substitution.
He's got 7. Jorge Herrera with 6. Nicky Jackson with 4.
Stepping up to pitch a big
And the Bocanegra coming off. Last roll of the dice for Mike Jeffries as all 3 substitutes have been exhausted now.
For the Independents, number 7, Dom Oduro.
And you are seeing Alex Martinez slide into the interior. That means you'll probably see Oduro come over to the right flank, and Enzo Martinez will probably go flat up top next to Jorge Herrera. Just trying to give themselves a bit more bodies in the box when this does start to matriculate in the final third. They obviously haven't had a lot of opportunities here in the second half. Mike Jeffries trying to gamble down the stretch, and I don't blame him.
Hernandez again, just balls attached to his foot. So much fun to watch. Alak, it's away from Oduro. Tyler Freeman getting set to come on for Zay Pedro, we're being told. By Charlotte, more of frustration than anything as they're chasing the ball down 2 goals with 15 minutes remaining at home. And here comes the 16-year-old from Overland Park, Kansas. Was the club's youngest signing ever. Signed his homegrown contract ahead of the 2019 season on October 2nd of 2018. Does already have his first professional goal. And here will play Zay Pedro. And even if you were to double the age of Tyler Freeman, it wouldn't necessarily come close to the age of Jorge Herrera on the other side of the field.
Kind of interesting how Mike Jeffries skirted around that question, asking as to whether or not Jorge Herrera had any plans for the future. And
very political answer from Mayor Jeffries. I mean, the guy's 38 years old. You have to ask the question.
Every time we see him, he doesn't give you a reason to think otherwise. That was one of the things that you and I talked about earlier on this year. Why wasn't he playing more? Too talented to not be involved, not only in the squad itself, but in the starting 11. There were multiple situations, opening 10 matches under Jim McGinnis. With all due respect to the manager, they wish him the best of luck. But some misutilization of the personnel that he had at his disposal. As we mentioned, that has been tale of a different tape under Mike Jeffries. A great 7-game unbeaten streak, including 4 wins, and unfortunately, that last one coming against the match in St. Louis in July. Come quite close multiple times, but always escaping them.
Here's Freeman. Hussein. Alak. For Alexander. Here goes the 16-year-old towards the corner flag. 1-1 with Kevon George. Alak from distance, and Brandon Miller. It looks like Swope Parker claiming that he got a touch to it, but didn't know a ton about it.
All you coaches at home, you want to teach your youngsters how to strike a ball. Watch these midfielders. They can hit it with the best of them. This thing has some serious movement on it. Catches it true, coming back across. It looks like that got a flick by Brandon Miller. Pushed it right up over the top of the crossbar. Felipe Hernandez, Juan Hussein, Wilson Harris, all of these guys going forward strike this ball so true, and it all comes down to the form. No matter what direction they're traveling, they get their knee right up over the top of it, plenty of momentum behind it. And then pending the location, how much power do you really want to put on it, or are you going to go for placement? Plenty of time. The question has been asked of Brandon Miller tonight.
Oduro cutting off the initial challenge. Another update from Slugger, it's 5-3. This one is dinked over the top. intended for Zion Jones. Tampa Bay Rowdies are going to cruise to 3 points now, 4-0 over Bethlehem right at halftime. Sign me up for a Louisville Tampa Bay Rowdies first-round matchup every day of the week. As Zion Jones able to pull it back, but Jorge Herrera's run was already being made. And Oduro was already at the back post. And Enzo Martinez called for the foul.
And 12 minutes to go. Right around there anyway. They have to start upping the ante a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Charlotte Independence, well done by Zion Jones. You could just see that the one runner in the box for the Charlotte Independence is never going to be enough, yet alone when the back line of Rod, Camden Riley, Alexander, and Jalen Lindsay have been so good in defensive transition this evening.
Hernandez through for Wilson Harris on a hat trick, but broken up by Tico. But Felipe Hernandez just has the world on a string at the moment.
Said keep an eye on this kid when he's coming back in, because he makes his way into the starting lineup. That's all the confidence he needs to showcase his personal technical ability. You have a seat, and by the way, I'm going to put you right there. Splits the back line. Again, his vision is so good. To watch him in one-on-one situations and then just allow the play to develop but still execute when it's his time to shine.
The corner turns into a counter for Charlotte. Zion Jones leading the charge. Herrera trying to get there. Enzo Martinez at the back post. Jones wants to take it himself. Still Jones, tried to square it back across for Herrera. It'll fall for Enzo Martinez. The goal now from Charlotte certainly would make things interesting. Martinez just flashes one across, never really available to be knotted in by Zion Jones. Back in for Herrera. Here's Clay Dimmick now. Martinez, little chop back, good ball in towards the back post. Loose in front, cleared away by Riley. It was a great chance, but Swope Park able to deal with it.
And you wonder if he takes one across the face here on Jalen Lindsay. Last-ditch effort to try and get a boot on it and knock it back into the box. Got to wonder with the goalkeeper, Pulskamp, what's going on here. Caught in no man's land as this thing gets whipped in by Enzo Martinez. Perfectly placed ball. With 10 minutes to go, you feel like maybe the magic just isn't in the cards for the Independents this evening.
Lindsay, who's played a pretty solid game after getting a yellow card in the first 120 seconds. Featured for the US U17 and 20s. He's 19 years of age, grew up in Charlotte. Some medical attention right now. He's sort of been lying in that fetal position since the play had happened.
Another one of those young talents coming out of Sporting Kansas City and Swope Park Rangers that they feel has an opportunity to continue to push himself to each and every level situated above him. His manager, Paulo Nagamura, just surveying from the sideline to see whether or not his defensive unit is going to be able to continue forth. Of course, he does have substitutes. Jalen Lindsay, the first American-born player in the 2000s to make an appearance at the professional level.
Sporting Kansas City. Really.
Don't say it. Careful. Peter Vermees is listening.
I can't say that they could use some help. I mean, and listen, this is a side that absolutely drilled a Liga MX side in the first round of CONCACAF Champions League, but then got pummeled. And when I say pummeled, I really mean it. 10-2 on aggregate against Monterrey. You watched both of those legs.
Unfortunately.
You were watching it because I was on the call, not for any other reason.
Of course.
Yeah.
I will actually agree with that.
Yeah.
sitting in my back room and just, you kind of turned your head away for a second, look back at the bug drop from the score, and I went, huh? I mean, it was that kind of matches, I should say, excuse me.
But with that said, I mean, Graham Zusi has been filling in at that right back position as he's sort of morphed into that as his career has gone that way.
Their entire back line needs a retooling. The age is, exactly.
Why
Talent
not?
laying and waiting.
Why not?
They're right there, and you can see that Jalen Lindsay is actually up and moving again. There was a look at Mark Segbers and possibly him coming into the match. That's not the case right now. Here comes the counter again.
Kuzain. 16-year-old Freeman now on the ball. Freeman still with it, trying to touch it along. Too many touches, though. Can't force to get rid of it. Mike Jeffries a touch on the ball. League button-down king still rocking it on September 21st. And Odura's offside.
Are you having vision problems? Tired eyes, dry eyes, blurry vision?
5 minutes remaining plus stoppage time. Wilson Harris with a brace. Nothing to report for the Independents.
Reasonable prices. Follow AccuVision Eye Care on Facebook and Instagram or book online today at AccuVisionEye.com.
Memphis and St. Louis scoreless in the 40th minute. Nashville and Pittsburgh scoreless in the 40th as well. What'd you say about a goal in Nashville?
2-1.
I think there's going to be 3 goals. We haven't had one in 40 minutes.
2-1.
I'll bet your winnings on the over that you won in the Louisville.
No, I'm not doubling down. No, I'm placing a smaller bet on that one.
Swope Park now tasked with trying to kill off the game for what would be their first road win of the season. Coming on September 21st. Sounds eerily similar to New York Rebels 2 a year ago, but that was a New York Rebels 2 side that ended up going to another Eastern Conference final despite the fact that they got almost every single one of their road wins in the postseason.
They had rattled off some pretty impressive home victories, which gave themselves the opportunity to make the postseason run.
As a 7 seed.
Go figure that one.
Taking down FC Cincinnati in the second round.
You just make it simple yourself. If you're a betting man and you're looking at the Eastern Conference, stay away from Louisville and Red Bull 2. I'll just make it easy because they're going to make a run. Either that or put money on them because they'll run by everybody.
Louisville's going to be on the road, though. At least.
We'll see.
At least in the second round. We'll see.
Yeah, at least in the second round.
I'll tell you what, playing at Slugger is one of the biggest advantages, if not the biggest, in the USL Championship. Felipe Hernandez. Swope Park looking for a third to really seal the deal. Good through ball. Wilson Harris is outside. Could this be the hat trick? Denied by Brandon Miller. Available again for Swope Park, and it's punched in by Juan Kuzain. Game, set, match. Swope Park locking up all 3 points.
This is just a true test of character for the Charlotte Independents, and when you get into a one-on-one situation, Brandon Miller does everything correct, and you have to get a little help from the defensive unit. Brendan McDonough, watch his effort coming on the back end of this. Just a walk in the park, allowing Juan Kuzain to run by him. He knows he walks right into the goal, does not even make eye contact with the goalkeeper. The loanee from the Vancouver Whitecaps has really struggled for himself in that situation. Not much the goalkeeper can do as he had made a quality save, and the midfielder just pushed his way through.
And Akhmatov will come on here and replace Juan Kuzain, who gets a warm embrace from Paulo Nagamura. Middle of the field did their job and then some. Goal for Juan Kuzain, assist for Felipe Hernandez, 2 goals from Wilson Harris. And the Charlotte Independents woes continue. And that's a really rough challenge for Menzo Martinez. He needs to be careful.
Goal in the 87th minute scored by number 75, Zucchine.
While they're checking on the fallen player. I'm going to track back here for the Lou City comment.
What do you got?
Here's why I say we'll see. I'm not saying they're going to get a top 4 spot. I'm just saying, hear me out for a second. They beat Red Bull 2. They play Tampa, St. Louis, and Nashville.
2 of those on the road.
If you win all 4 of those, you have beaten, outside of St. Louis, who is a playoff team, you've beaten 3 out of the 4 teams in front of you. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, by the way, not only are they doing battle with Nashville right now, they've still got a decent little run in, and I'm basically going into scheduling. I'm playing devil's advocate here because of the record that Lou City has shown you in years past, and the fact that they've only lost 4 games. So they're taking on Nashville. They still have to play Indy. They still have to play St. Louis, and on the road at Birmingham. Not an easy stretch right there. Now, there are other games mixed in there where it's still kind of a what-if scenario. Let's jump to Nashville. Again, I'm going teams that are in closest proximity to that number 4 spot. Now let's go to Nashville. Again, they and the Riverhounds are doing battle tonight. Gary Smith's squad with that impressive victory early on this week, right at the death of it. They play North Carolina FC. We mentioned the Louisville game, and you have to go on the road to Loudoun. Everybody's going to laugh at me for that one. But Segra Field is a weird anomaly where we've seen some really strange things go on there. Charlotte Independence have been toe-to-toe with Loudoun. That was a 3-3 match.
That was the first ever game at Segra.
Did not know what was going on there. And it takes some steam out of you where, in basically a 6-week, 7-week stretch, they're going to play Birmingham, Pittsburgh, Louisville, North Carolina, and Loudoun. That's not an easy run-in.
You're resting your laurels on the fact that Louisville is going to be able to win those 3 games against St. Louis, Nashville, and Tampa Bay. 2 of the 3 of those being on the road.
I'll put it to you this way. Knowing those other teams, I'm more likely to bet on Louisville in that situation than either of those other teams. Except for Bob.
St. Louis is hot.
Bob Lilly is, I don't know what.
Bob Lilly's on his own little River Rhino Island.
Yeah. He's sitting in the back going, 4's mine, boys.
Exactly.
He's sitting right there, very happy, and happy to sit back at high mark and let him run through there.
Tucker Lepley coming off just a few moments ago, replaced by former Orange County man and Mark Segbers, who Devin had mentioned earlier, for that right back position. 6 minutes of stoppage. And the stoppage time is presented by Jack's House. Zion Jones gives it away, trying to find Alex Martinez. Militia still trying to do their part.
Fans, are you ready? Truck, Jeep, or SUV home tonight? The owners of Rims Water, a soccer family too, will help you change the look of your ride. Get the lowest price.
This is a lot of what we've seen from Charlotte tonight. A lot of the ball, particularly in the defensive third, and just lack of intuition and something that really gets you excited and up out of your seat in the attacking third. Good ball for Dominic Oduro from Alex Martinez. Oduro into the middle. Herrero is waiting for it. Good defensive play from Jalen Lindsey, who seems to be all right after taking a knock to the head just a few moments ago. Oduro, clean first touch, pushes it out wide. Freeman couldn't get there. Dimmick took a tough knock, and taking an even tougher one was the Swope Park defender. A little difficult to see exactly who it was. And it looks like it's Alexander who caught one right in the midsection. They'll run it off though. The Chick-fil-A corner for Charlotte. See if they can capitalize and pull one back here in the final moments as we're about halfway through stoppage time. Shouts for a handball. Daniel Chesky blows the whistle and points to the spot, and a penalty coming up for the Jacks.
You can pretty much see this one from a mile away. Unfortunately for Swope Park Rangers. Everybody sitting right in front of it asking for the exact same thing. Jorge Herrera will get an opportunity to convert from the spot. As this ball gets whipped in, it's just a movement back across. Yep, outstretched arm. Jalen Lindsey. I like to forget about the past 20 minutes, not only dealing with the injury, but also the solid defensive effort he's put in, and it just comes off the arm. Swope Park Rangers were in a situation where they go for 3 shutouts in a row. Can their goalkeeper bail them out?
Jorge Herrera for the Jacks, and he skies it. A microcosm of what's been a miserable night for Charlotte.
That's the story of the season, isn't it? Utter frustration for Mike Jeffries on the sideline. Jorge Herrera can't believe it, and the form never going to convert. Got to lean over it a bit more, and he was trying to open up his hips and just put it in that upper corner. Unfortunately, he was leaning back before he even took his first step.
How often do you see that guy rattled? That's when you know it's not going your way. Down from Tyler Freeman. So Park now tied on points with Hartford, trying to avoid finishing last in the Eastern Conference. Certainly something to play for Palomanganura's side. The game in hand on Jimmy Nielsen's Hartford. Good ball the other way. Look at Mark Zegbers racing to beat the defender to the punch. Zegbers on the turn. Tries to put one across. He wants a handball. We'll just get the corner.
Swope Park corner kick taken by number 85, Hernandez.
All academic now for the visitors. They'll have their first win away from Children's Mercy of the season. It's been a long time coming, but it finally came. That's going to do it full time. Swope Park Rangers earned their 5th win of the season, but more importantly, earned their first road win of the 2019 campaign on September 21st. A brace from Wilson Harris and an exclamation point from Juan Kuzain. Frustrating night for Mike Jeffries and the Charlotte Independents as they still are in search for their first win since July 13th. Brandon Miller lets in 3 from the run of play. And we'll take a look at the Wells Fargo save of the game from Mr. Brandon Miller. And it was Jalen Lindsey who started the play, and then a Jalen Lindsey effort that was saved by Brandon Miller. Again, more interplay from Felipe Hernandez, and Miller up to the task. Made a couple of good saves tonight, but couldn't keep the 3 out from Wilson Harris and Juan Kuzain.
To be fair, he didn't necessarily have a lot of help when it was asked of him, but a bad shift from Brandon Miller. Unfortunately, you can't do all of the work on your own. We saw that at the tail end of it on the 3rd goal, where one-on-one, point-blank range, comes up with a save. Unfortunately, needed a little help from his back line. Didn't get it.
Full-time score brought to you by Grizz O'Malley's, and that full-time score is Swope Park 3, Charlotte 0. We'll step aside when we come back. Highlights and stats. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks. It's like a smart thing. What's the weather?
Sunny. Perfect chicken eating weather.
How'd you get in here?
It's time for chicken.
What's the traffic like?
Rerouting you to chicken.
Okay.
Hey, Calzo, order pizza.
Ordering chicken.
No, pizza.
Chicken.
Okay, chicken it is.
Chick-fil-A nuggets make dinner delightful.
Now that's smart.
These are the hands of Novant Health. The hands saving lives. Taking control when it matters most. These are the hands advancing care. They're skillful, precise, and compassionate.
It's gonna be okay from here.
They're the hands giving you strength. Those same hands delivering specialized care also take the time to hold yours. And they'll be waving goodbye as you walk out of our doors and back to your life. These are the hands of Novant Health, the hands making healthcare remarkable.
Return it on your way out to the
Full-time here.
the front gate.
The Sportsplex at Matthews again. The full-time score brought to you by Grace O'Malley's. And it's the Swope Park Rangers earning their first road win of the season. And we'll take a look at how it all went down. Again, Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. Thanks for sticking with us. And it was the Charlotte Independents who in the opening moments or so, it looked like they might earn the opening goal. A shot off the crossbar from Enzo Martinez. And then we head to the 29th minute. And it's Wilson Harris doing all the legwork from the 40-yard line all the way down into the penalty area and beats Brandon Miller. Devin, you thought that Miller probably should have done a bit better here.
Yeah, and it just, again, he made a lot of really quality saves tonight, but this is one of the poor decisions. He's cheating to the near post, really worried about it. And it's not like he's given himself that much room to make a mistake. I mean, this has a boatload of room where he could have just shifted all the way back over, and he doesn't. Makes a poor decision. They get out in front by one. And I said coming in, keep an eye on the midfield three, specifically Felipe Hernandez and Juan Cusain, and then another guy who I felt like could have been one of the categories for Young Player of the Year. That's Wilson Harris up top. He showed you why tonight. 2 goals for him. 29th minute, 57th minute. This one coming from an assist from Felipe Hernandez coming out of the middle. And how about Juan Cusain? He would get involved here as well. And, you know, it was just the vision by all of these guys. Again, ball striking ability, rotation back into the middle. It's a quick little touch, look up, and hits it. I mean, that is something that they have taught at a young age and just continued to run it up through the ranks. There's a reason why there's a lot of good positive talk about the Nashville native out of Felipe Hernandez. They're still looking for him to mature more. You saw some opportunities out of Enzo Martinez. You saw it from Alex Martinez. Of course, the penalty miss from Jorge Herrera. But Swope Park Rangers would add a 3rd goal. That would be in the 87th minute. Juan Cusain would find a way to hit the back of the net, and it would come off a really interesting segment. So watch on the back side of this for Brendan McDonough. Number 2, as this ball comes off on a deflection, you got to be right there. Help your goalkeeper out a little bit. It doesn't take that much effort, and I'm not pointing him out because this is a team effort that was lacking over the course of the entire game, which made them lose by 3 goals. But with 5, 6, 7 minutes to go, and you're still within striking distance, you got to showcase yourself that you want this a little bit. It just wasn't there, and that was the story of not just tonight, the Charlotte Independent season. 19 shots. Were any of them truly threatening? No, and it's kind of what you've seen over the past 18 months, to be honest, where, yeah, they can knock it around with the best of them, but when they move into the final third, it just really isn't impressive.
And as you can see, Charlotte ends up winning the possession battle, but loses the war as the scoreline finishes 3-0. Swope Park Rangers now putting a couple of nice results together. First a draw against Charleston, a win against North Carolina, and now their first road win of the season by a score of 3-0. Wilson Harris, 3 goals in the last 2 games, gets his brace, and then Juan Cusain adds the cherry on top for Paulo Nagamura's side. Swope Park trying to desperately make sure they don't finish at the bottom of the Eastern Conference barrel. For Charlotte, still looking for their first win since July 13th. They'll have to keep looking. For our entire crew and Devin Kerr, I'm Tyler Terrence, saying so long for now, and thanks for tuning in.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.